So welcome back to the Anti-Guru, and once again with Helen and Claire as part of our mini-series, as it were. We've done the dark and depressing, we've done the down and dirty. Now we're going to be talking about the sunlit upland and hopefully finish the series with a little bit of shark hunting tips, how to spear yourself a shark. Claire and Helen, welcome. Again, we won't do any of the normal intro stuff. We're going to get straight into it because, Claire, I want to hear what's happened to you next. So we've had all of the rubbish. We've had all of the dross. We've got shot of our guru. That's where we left the story. The guru is no more. And what's happened? Tell us.
It's interesting. He's still out there, isn't he, Helen? He keeps popping up. It's like whack-a-mole.
Or it's like the Finn from Jaws. Many other shark films are available, but it's like the Finn from Jaws. You see him pop up occasionally and then he dives back down again.
Yeah.
Pop up occasionally.
Yeah, we've managed to stop him speaking at a couple of events, but now there's a whole new company that's been set up. He's got somebody else on his, on his line, and so still out there. Watch out.
Still out there hunting.
I mean,
we'll get to that, Helen. We're gonna. I really want to hear from Claire as to how things have changed.
Okay, I'll leave that to Helen.
You finally got rid of Sharky.
I did.
And when?
And in the process, it was one of the reasons my eyes were open to his ways was by working with the main contractor on Dudding Court, and he's the guy who's become my business partner. Can I say his name?
Yeah, do it.
So Dan Stones and Joe Stones of 5D Solutions, and also Jan Morton, who's part of that whole business. They're main contractors and they're developers, and they were brought in to do the Dudding Court conversion. So I got to know them really well. And I was just, you just observe people. How are they operating? How are they responding? That person's chaos.
That's all right. We'll edit that.
Okay. And I was just watching, and I think they were watching, and, we met a few times, but it was all very kind of indirect. But I just noticed, it suddenly occurred to me, it's like it's not what people say. My guru was a big talker. He was a salesman. He had the gift of the gab. These guys, Dan, Joe, and Jan, very under the radar, very discreet, don't like publicity. They just get on with it. And you send them an email with 10 questions, and an email will come back with 10 answers, all in exactly the amount of detail you need and wanted. Everything, all their digital filing, their construction sites had neat little piles of supplies everywhere, military planning, Gantt charts on the wall. I mean, it was a delight to work with them. But they were tearing their hair out, obviously, because they were trying to work with somebody who was just not professional. But let's forget about that. It was just suddenly thinking, oh my God, there's another way of things. It was such a relief to work with them. It's like these are the kind of people I want to work with. And as he edged out, Dan and Joe and Jan edged in, and they had a couple of deals at the time. Well, one of them was our deal that I'd found with my guy, Foliot House, which was going in not a very good direction, because again, he'd overestimated the GDV and massively underestimated the costs. And Dan was going, that doesn't look right. And I was going, well, Dan, come in, join us. Let's get him out and you in, and you can make this work. I've got the investors. By then I'd found some great investors who were on board. We always had to work with the amount of equity that had originally been quoted to them, which was based on figures that were wildly out. But of course, those investors were like, well, we've been promised that return for this amount of equity. Why should we increase it? Just because you guys have now realized that the figures are very different. We'll stay in, but we're not going to change our investment, which was fair. So Dan came in and basically worked his magic, and he has worked like a dog to do this. And his construction company have carried out that conversion we've converted it into 21 units. It's been a big success, but this has been in spite of the damage caused by this guy at the front end. So Dan and Joe and Jan have turned it around. And between us, with me bringing the money, the investment, you know, I've with Dan, I've put my house on the line with PGs to get the funding. You know, this is the other thing about them. They turn up for work every day. They're there 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. They're working weekends. They realize that being a developer is a daily grind. Whereas with this other guy, he liked the big talk. He liked the exciting, let's talk the big numbers, the creative finance. But as soon as it got to signing contracts and reading terms and conditions, that's boring. That's boring. Oh, it'll all just work itself out. No, it doesn't work itself out. You need to be on the ball with every bit of detail. And I'm like that. I'm a detail person. Yeah. I love great organization. And so to see Dan and his team working like this, for me, it was like, oh my God, this is how I want to work. So I kind of fitted into their team. Although I'm in London, they're in Plymouth, it just worked. You know, I sorted out all the marketing and the off-plan sales, and we brought in our mate Carolina to Demsheik. You know, they were a little bit hesitant about that. They were like, we really don't need to spend the money. And I kind of forced that through, and they've seen the benefits, because we've now got 20 sales reserved out of 21. That's during a global pandemic. Mm-hmm. We lost a couple during lockdown, and we got them, you know, then we recouped a few. So we are now paying the senior lender back at unit 16 completion. That's them gone, all PGs removed. And I think by the end of this week, we'll be at the 10th completion. They are dropping every week now. So it's just, honestly, it's been like the best revenge. And I know we're not there. I know we're not out the other end, but you know, there's no reason now why it's not going to happen. The investors are going to be paid back. I think I'll get enough profit to pay me back maybe half of what I lost. But then I'm doing another project with Dan. I can't believe I signed up for 2. You know, I definitely have a risk-taking side, which is probably a bit, you know, I'm the opposite to Helen like that. But on these 2, I've chosen my partners well. And we're doing a new build site near Exeter, 9 houses. Again, it's not as far down the line, but they are problem solving on a daily basis. Nightmares with utilities, nightmares with being on a muddy hillside near Dartmouth and trying to build houses in a mud bath. But they're on it. You know, they couldn't be more on it. And our investors, until lockdown, they were going, okay, guys, we want to do this again. Let's roll our money over, which is the holy grail. It's what you want, isn't it? Investors who just stick with you. Now, of course, they've all had job hits and redundancies, and they're going, well, we may not be able to, but that's not because they want to go elsewhere.
But that's thanks to you, that you've managed really well. You've managed that investor relations, you know, kind of aspect.
Yeah, they've had monthly reports, detailed reports. In a way, seeing how not to do it is such a great model for, like, we're going to do the exact opposite of that. Yeah. We're going to give them loads of information. We're going to make sure that everything is transparent. We're going to under-promise. We're going to over-deliver, because he was very much over-promise and then don't deliver.
But it is somewhere where developers fall down, is managing those relationships with investors. Yeah. You don't want one-off investors. Manage them well, communicate, do what you say you're going to do, and they keep coming back. So bravo to you for that.
Yeah, and they understand, absolutely. You know, we've had some bombshells with utility upgrades and, you know, things that you just can't plan for. Some bills that have come in that have really kind of taken a chunk out of the forecast profit. But everyone has been kept abreast and like, yeah, what can you do? You guys couldn't have done any more. And it's been a joy, honestly. Even the panic of the lockdown, you know, you've got such a solid team around you that everyone is doing what they're meant to do. But those people don't shout. You know, Dan and Joe and Jan are almost like, can you please not post about us on Facebook? They haven't liked it when I have. They just want to be well known and well respected in their local market, word of mouth. And you just realize it's the people out there with the shiny social media accounts. And I you know, Helen and I talk about this a lot, and we're like, are we doing it? We have to keep examining, are we going down that smoke and mirrors, pretending to be what you're not? And we're all into authenticity and sharing the bad as well as the good. But everyone we think who is slightly potentially dodgy is just a bit too good to be true on social media. And you just think, yeah, the people who just get on with it, you don't even know they're there.
Yeah, there's a really, I mean, I love that. The principle is called famous to a few. I can't off the top of my, I think it's Daniel Priestley commentates on it. But the whole point is that you don't need to be famous to the world. You just need to be famous to a few people, and they will be there for you forever. I love the fact that you've built a team around you as well. The T in victory, our victory model, stands for team, and it's about team building, assembling that core team around you that will be with you forever and also share all of your values. Wonderful to hear. Such an amazing turnaround, I think, but not unexpected either, because I know you, I've met you, we've had tea together, and not unexpected at all. I wouldn't have expected anything less, to be fair.
I mean, it's been hard, John. There's been a massive period in the middle, you know, where there's been some very dark days. And actually, this is where, if you share it, if you can find it within you to just to share what this shameful secret, it's people like Helen. And then there's all these other people who go, oh my God, it happened to me. And I felt so embarrassed, but you've made me feel less stupid now. And actually, I think Helen will agree that the whole property industry is talking about this, and people are going, I did it too. And some people, really well-respected people, very clever people, are going, well, do you want to know what I did? And it's really great. It's like, you don't get to be successful in this business without having some really shitty experiences like that. And it generally from being too trusting and realizing that there's a reason why lawyers exist.
Yeah, quite. I mean, the night is always darkest before the dawn. So I know where you're coming from there. I know that sounds like a soundbite, but it's an incredibly famous quote, and it's beautifully paraphrased here. The other thing I would say, Claire, is that I don't think you can be good in business unless you have failed. My first planning consultancy that I started with Keith Oliver was called Fusion TP. You can see it on my company's house record. And it failed. And it failed because we tried to grow too fast, too quickly, and put too much trust into people who didn't deserve that trust. And that's the reason why it failed. The learnings I took from that were massive. Will I repeat those mistakes again? Absolutely not. It's where we generated our theory, our practice of organic growth. We only grow when we're ready to grow. We need a bigger plant pot when we're ready for the bigger plant pot, not when our ego says, oh, we should get a bigger plant pot. It's why you'll never see me driving around in an Aston Martin or a big Merc. I don't believe I need an Aston Martin or a big Merc to get me from A to B. My Dacia Sandero is just fine and dandy. But the town calls it fake it to make it. And I think that's prevalent, sadly, in the industry. There's a lot of fake it to make it going on, especially in the world of the guru. The other thing I love is what you're saying there is very much why I set up the Anti-Guru YouTube channel in the first place. And it wasn't to become famous. It was simply to share information freely and without any sort of bias or upsell. That is the point of it. And by sharing the story, because I think everyone can take huge amounts of learnings about what we've done over the last 3 vids. You know, all the negative is there. All of the negative learnings are there, but they're important negative learnings that everyone can pick up on. And, you know, how to do your due diligence. And in the next vid, we're going to be talking to you both, you know, about your sort of 10 sort of top how to spot a shark tips. But it also has that positive message of, even in your darkest moments, you can drive yourself out. And you've driven yourself out through good team making and hard work. And that's completely admirable. So thank you for sharing so much of your story. I really do appreciate it. Good place to stop there, because on the very next video, we are going to be talking once more with Helen and Jane, and Helen and Claire, and we are going to be dealing with how to spot a shark and what to do about them, because I think that is going to be the most interesting of them all. So join us on the next Anti-Guru. Like, comment, subscribe, of course. Catch you on the next one.